Welcome to Office 2010 Exploring Options. I'm TrainerLori. What are options? Well, it's one location to change your defaults, to change the way the factory made it to the way you will find it under File Options. They vary with the program, but we'll explore a few of them, and you can take the time to explore others that might be useful for you. For example, you can see that General is available in all the programs. Well, let's look at General. For example, the color scheme. This is the same in PowerPoint, Word, Outlook, and when you choose the color scheme, it changes every program. So if you decide you don't like the silver, that is the default, you can change it to blue or black. I've had a lot of people tell me that they like to change that because it keeps the screen from being so bright on their eyes, especially if they have pale colored eyes. In Excel, for example, under the General Options, this is where you can change the default of every workbook, how many worksheets are in a workbook, and the font size. Now remember, you can make any of these changes in each of the programs, but what this allows you to do is to make it once, and it will always create a new, for example, workbook with these default settings. Proofing. Under the Proofing tab, this is where you'll find AutoCorrect, and this is one of my favorite tools because it keeps you from having to fix your own errors. It'll find them for you. Now this is one bucket, so once you put something in, for example, Tati is one of my biggest problems. I have a tendency to put in TOT space HE when I really want it to be TOT space THE. So I put it in once and I don't have to worry about it. If my hands accidentally write Tati, the computer automatically fixes it. Love AutoCorrect. Again, it's the same bucket for all the programs. Save. Save options. And this happens to be PowerPoint, but it works the same in all three programs. And that is, if you want to save it in an older version, for example, maybe you have 2010, but everybody you work with only has 2003, you can save it by default in the older version. But when everybody's upgraded and it's time to start saving in the 2010, you have that option. It will not say 2010, that will just be the latest version on the top here. You can also choose where you want to save it. By default, it wants to save to the C drive, which is on your computer, but if you prefer to save to a network drive, you can just simply type it in here. Language. Again, this one's available throughout all the programs. And language allows you to choose what languages you want to check your spelling in. So, for example, I sometimes write in Spanish and sometimes in French. So I can choose another language. Then when I'm in, say, Word, and I want to check the spelling, I can easily choose from the list because I've chosen them already in the default section. If you want to customize your ribbon and your quad, your quick access toolbar. If you want to customize the ribbon, there's lots. In fact, I have a whole tutorial just on some of the great tools that you might want to add to your ribbon. But this is where you can add a ribbon, a tab to your ribbon that isn't on by default, the Developer tab. And this allows you to write macros a little easier and go into Visual Basic. The Quick Access toolbar is that little toolbar that's generally above your ribbon. You can also access it by clicking the drop down here, but I like to come in here and try some of the new ones. There's all kinds of tools I may not have used before. You simply click Add, and it adds it to the Quick Access toolbar. Add-ins. One of the biggest reasons programs don't work, based on all the research that I've done on it, is because sometimes add-ins disable certain abilities of your program. So you might want to check your add-ins. Some you may have downloaded on purpose. For example, I've downloaded the WebEx and some other programs, but there's others that are available to you that you may not have installed yet. The Trust Center. This is one of those frustrating things. If you've ever gotten an email with an Excel attachment, you probably couldn't do anything with it when you first opened it because of Protected View. Now this is a good thing for security, but if it's from somebody you know and you trust, then can come in here and choose on a one-time basis, enable editing, or you can come into the Trust Center and then you have to click Trust Center Settings, and you can determine the settings, and there are 11 of them, for how you want your files to be opened so that you don't have the read-only options. For example, if I say I want to open a file in protected view, then I also have options here. So there's lots of options in Trust Center. This is certainly a place you'll want to explore your options. Under the Advanced tab, for example, in Outlook, here's one of my favorites. This is empty deleted item in your Outlook when you're exiting Outlook. So in other words, it will empty your deleted items folder. Instead of having to wait until it archives, why not get rid of some of that bloat in your Outlook box immediately every time you close Outlook? In PowerPoint, here's a great advanced tool. When I save my images, I get to choose how big I want them. For example, 220 pixels per inch gives me more quality, but make it harder to email. So if I want to change my images to 150 or 96, which would be appropriate for emailing, then I can change that default if I'm doing it all the time. In Word, how frustrating is it when you print your pages? Let's say you have a 96-page document and you have to reorder it because it comes out with 96 on top, and I want it to be 1 on top. And so this is a great place to change that. In Excel, this is one of those things a lot of people have asked me about. AutoComplete, which is a great tool normally. If I start typing, it will complete the word for me, and if it's words, it's usually what I want. But when they're numbers, there's so many numbers that are similar, I don't want it to automatically fill in a number just because I started a 9. So in this case, I want to be able to just type in the number. It's going to be a new number, for example, an area code or a zip code, and so I would turn off enable autocomplete for cell values. That means for numbers only. It would still be available for words. And there's several program-specific options. For example, in Excel, you can choose if you're doing a lot of calculations and you don't like the way it automatically calculates, it slows you down because it calculates every time you make a change, you can turn off your automatic calculation and make it manual. In Outlook, you can add holidays. That's a great thing to do, especially at the new year if you haven't done that already, is to be able to add all your holidays. In fact, I have not only American holidays but also English holidays because I have family in England and I can keep track of those. And in Access, this is probably the only thing I would change in Access, and that is a display form. This is an entirely different place than it was in Access 2003, but if I want to have a specific form open when I open up Access, then this is where I would put that in. This is under Current Database. Well, thank you for joining us. See you next time.